Hi there. My name is Samsarah Doulas Morgan. I am the founder, executive director, and doula for Oakland Better Birth Foundation in beautiful Oakland, California. And who are you?
My name is Mika Cade. I am a doula and student midwife and director of the Oakland Better Birth Foundation.
She is. And we have blessed to have the opportunity to talk to you about the Medi-cal doula program. The federal government 2 years ago or more finally figured out that doulas were a good and helpful thing and a life-saving thing for families, and the word went out that all the states have to provide and help people to be able to afford quality doula care, so that everybody who wants a doula can have one. Doesn't mean that you have to have a doula, but my experience has been that it's a good idea, and especially if hospitals are, how do we say this? If your hospital is not supporting physiological birth, which includes the birthing person or the mama having a lot of say in her care, then having somebody there to support you, or you and your maid, or you and your grandma, or you and your auntie is a good idea. Not everything that is suggested by certain doctors is actually needed. And in fact, some of the things are not even wholly backed by science. So who's to make sure that birthing people know all of that? And then they have the human right to decide whether I want any of that as part of my birthing process, or do I want to take medications, do I don't want to take medications. And people have to know why. There are times when sometimes maybe a medicine might be a good idea, but not 80% of people having an epidural, which is like around what's happening now, right? So close to 90%, actually, the last studies on that I saw. So most kids are being born through medicated parents, and that medication, one of the components of those is an opioid of some kind. Here in the Bay Area is fentanyl. Has effects on the mama and has effects on the baby. So information like that is super, super important, so that folks can have babies the way they want, and babies having labors that don't need intervention, because our healthy bodies can do this. All critters can reproduce. Bats and bumblebees and spiders, we can all do that. Monkeys, we have to go in our family line, so we're cousins to the chimpanzees. They're doing really fine as long as they're allowed to stay in their jungle and live their beautiful lives. So as natural as we can be, that's where the majority of the health is, right? So we're going to talk a little bit. Mika has been a doula for how many years now?
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years. I've been a doula for 45 years. And so we just want to share a little bit about the doula benefit, and we might chime in some other stuff. We have about an hour, less than an hour. At this point, we've got a half an hour.
Yeah.
And if that means we do a video too one day, that means that's what we'll do, right? We just want to also point in that Oakland Better Birth Foundation has the doula working lunches, or doula teas, the first Saturday of every month. Please email me at oaklandbetterbirthfoundation@gmail.com, so we can put you on our list so that you'll get invitations. But the more the merrier. There are other wonderful groups here in the Bay Area who are starting to do organizational work about educating doulas specifically about this benefit and being a doula in general, and I welcome that. I'm very happy about that, actually. Tell me if you want that information, and I'll have it sent to you as well. Once you're on our mailing list, you get to learn a lot of wonderful other things. This information is helpful for parents as well as those who are who are doulas right now or who want to be doulas in the future. So here we are. So we're going to talk about what it means to accept Medi-cal. So if you're a parent, what does it mean if you're accepting it? We want to identify the steps to becoming a Medi-cal doula, define the difference, what is covered, what is not covered. You want to review claims and billing, and you want to understand how to access Medi-cal approved doulas. And we don't have to have Q&A because you could ask me questions.
Are in the comments.
Yeah, exactly right. So if you put your questions in the comments, for sure, I'm always looking through our YouTube. This is going to end up in our Better Birth TV YouTube channel. I love seeing comments, and I will answer.
And I just want to mention also that I've been an approved Medi-cal doula since 2023, and it's now 2025. So yeah, actually over 2 years, two and a half-ish years now.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of what we'll, be talking about also comes from some of that experience of this process.
Yes, very grateful for that. So a point of clarification, Medi-cal is Medicaid.
Yes.
In California, which is where we're sitting. So the things we're saying is valid for the state of California only, and other states are trying to grapple with and trying to start their own Medicare programs. They're the same, but California's got to be special. So keep your eyes on that. Definitely for doulas, keep your eyes on that. Be in those meetings. Be at the table, because when we first started working with the state of California, who now we love, they've been very good to us. But at first, it was a lot of very unhappy meetings with them not even knowing what a doula really is or what a doula really does. And they were going by what I would say is the DONA model, which is 2 visits before the birth and then a visit or 2 afterwards. Not all doulas work that way. So you get to decide the kind of doula you want to be, Medi-cal or not, Medicaid or not. How much time and energy you want to give to your clients. We both have taken a training that really focuses on traditional ways of being a doula, and particularly looks at what our granny midwife ancestors did and how they cared for their clients. And so what that means is that we're doing more community-based care. We're loving up the birthing person. We are supporting her mate. We are loving the other kids in the family if there are any. Again, mama, grandma, auntie, anyone who needs our support, we're there. We've got our eyes on the very big picture. And we want to track the babies as long as possible, because the date where kids are counted in that horrible infant mortality figure, especially for Black babies, is babies who've died before their first year of life. Right? In California, we worked to have the doula coverage will cover up to the first year of life, depending upon how many times the mom has used either prenatal or postpartum care. We can see our families for that whole first year. We want to track and support our families, the things that come up, and definitely have a hand in preventing mortality. So what does it mean to be a Medi-cal doula? It means you've gone through the steps that we will outline to be able to accept Medi-cal insurance. You will practice within the scope laid out by DHCS, which is the state of California, and MCOs in your contracts. When you sign contracts when you go through the process of being a Medi-cal doula, there are things that they want of their doulas, and those things very much have to do with how doulas actually practice in the world now that they know what a doula is, and they're being very supportive and making sure that we have that quality of care. It's a very high bar. Your clients will not pay out of pocket for covered services. So if you're a Medi-cal doula, You cannot ask the clients for more money than what you're being paid by the state. You will bill Medi-cal or Medicaid for your services. You will keep HIPAA compliant notes that could be audited by the state at any time. So it's very important that should do another one of these things that's talking about the notes.
Yeah.
You are in charge of how many clients with Medi-cal you want to take. Of course, being reasonable about that, about the level of care that you can give. It's not worth taking on a bunch of clients just to get the money. It is about the tender, loving, nurturing, and education and support that you give your clients, and what your body can stand. You don't want to burn yourself out because you did too many. But you're in charge of that. No other entity tells you how many you can take or not take. You can still have your private practice and other related services. So if you do placenta encapsulation, say, or a bunch of things, all the things that we can do outside of just being purely a doula, you can still do those things. You're not restrained in any way. And you may or may not have to adjust your business plan. You may have to rethink how you treat your clients to be able to fit in with Medi-cal practices. And also, more importantly, how to not have the Medi-cal practices interfere you from the high quality work you're already doing. There's no need for that at all. No, there are differences in how you will bill for it, but pretty much everything we do as doulas, you can still do as a Medi-cal doula.
And I think it's an opportunity for like doulas who may have been trained to offer 1 or 2 prenatal visits, the birth, and 1 or 2 postpartum visits, to think about, especially for our community, thinking of a community doula mindset and frame of mind.
The door's on.
Yeah. How to actually expand your offerings. Yeah.
So excuse Mika for a minute. Someone actually showed up at the door here. So we are answering that. So if you're already working as a doula, or if you're thinking about working as a doula, it's important to just think these things through as we talk about them. You can always feel free to give me a call to talk to me about them. Oakland Better Birth Foundation, we have a beautiful website. You can call me, you can send me emails in our website. Just as we teach parents to use the acronym BRAIN when they are thinking about their choices in childbirth, we doulas have to use that same setup to think about the kind of doula that we want to be and how we want to be a Medi-cal doula, or if we want to be a Medi-cal doula. So BRAIN is the acronym, and it goes benefits, risks, alternatives, intuition, or no. You always have the right to say no, just as our clients always have the right to say no. So how to become a Medi-cal approved doula? You must be at least 18 years of age. You must have an NPI number, which is a National Provider Identification Number. You must provide proof of adult and infant CPR, either the American Red Cross or the American Heart Association. You must have completed a basic HIPAA training, have a business license or tax certificate if this is required by your city. It's definitely required here. You must complete one of 2 pathways. You must either do the training pathway or the experience pathway. I fought very hard for that one, and I think it is of the states that have approved, who have started having Medi-cal doulas or Medicaid doulas, I believe we are the only ones that have the 2 pathways to become one. Other states, you must have taken a training class, and there's no other way. So I'm very proud of that. The applications are completed online through a website called PAVE, P-A-V-E, and you must contract with managed care plans. Uh, there's the state, and then there's all the individual care plans. So once you've gone through the PAVE process and you've been approved, you are approved by the state to do what you're doing and to be able to accept straight Medi-cal. Medi-cal is offered through the insurance companies. So say, for example, Kaiser, you have to then set yourself up with Kaiser as well as be approved by PAVE to accept Kaiser patients, right? So that would have to happen with each separate insurance company. So you get to look around and see all the insurance companies that are in your area and contact them. Some insurance groups are actually reaching out to doulas, which is very nice. It's very respectful, asking them how they can help them get signed up with their group. And that is required in order for you to be able to bill Medi-cal for your services. You have to, and you must have professional liability doula insurance. That is a requirement. We tried not to have it be, but it is. So if you have any questions about all of these things, please feel free to ask your questions either in the comments, or you can contact me through our website, and we will help you along. Or come here next month and give this talk and other important information again. All doulas must maintain HIPAA compliant notes and complete 3 hours of continuing education in maternal, perinatal and or infant care every 3 years. Doula shall maintain evidence of completed training and notes to be made available to DHCS, which is the state, upon request. So your notes, how you take your notes, is very important. We'll have a whole nother talk about that. And those you can get a knock on your door or a phone call from the state saying we want to come and just look over your client notes and to confirm that your training is up to date and all these other things. You must complete 3 hours of continuing education and material every 3 years. And pretty much every doula certification will request this. It should be relatively easy for you to have. Put it in a special safe place, because if you're asked to show it by the state, it will be very bad. I believe there are fines involved for you not being compliant for your business. I'm going to talk about training pathways a bit more. A certificate of completion for a minimum of 16 hours of training, which includes all of the following topics: lactation, childbirth education, foundations on anatomy of pregnancy and childbirth, non-medical comfort measures, prenatal support, and labor support techniques, and developing a community resource list, and provide support for at least 3 births before you can become a Medi-cal doula, right? So basically any doula training will require this. This is just like the bare minimum. Some trainings will give you more, and that's wonderful, but this is what's needed if you want to be a Medi-cal doula. So basic training pathways. So lactation support, childbirth education, foundations of anatomy and pregnancy and childbirth, non-medical comfort measures, prenatal support, and labor support techniques. And you must show a community resource list: who the doctors are, who the nurses are, who the acupuncturists are, who the chiropractors are, all the players who help people bring their beautiful babies to healthy birth. You create your own list and you keep that with you. You can share it with your clients so that you are that one-stop shop that doulas are known to be. We can help our clients in so many ways, and you have to have had at least 3 births, and that's basically what you need to complete most doula trainings. That's about it, and what you must show in order to make that step into being a Medi-cal doula. There's also, only here in the state of California, the experience pathway. So to become a Medi-cal doula through the experience pathway, you must have at least 5 years of active of active doula experience in either a paid or volunteer capacity within the previous 7 years. So you have been doing births, have not gone to class, but you have been doing births, honoring our communities, and definitely honoring the community aspect of being a doula in great many communities, indigenous folks, Black people. Just for an example, the people in the community have always, there's some people who just always been the ones who helped out at births. They didn't take a class, they just did it. They were taught by other elders in their community, and we wanted to always honor that and show respect for that. So it is a matter of just you documenting what you've already been doing, and it will be accepted by the state. So 5 years of active doula in either a paid or a volunteer capacity within the previous 7 years of your applying. You must attest to skills in prenatal, labor, and postpartum care as demonstrated by 3 written client testimonial letters or professional letters of recommendation from any of the following. Any of the following people can write letters for you. A physician can, licensed behavioral health provider can, a nurse practitioner can, a nurse midwife, a licensed midwife, and another enrolled doula, or community-based organization like ours, the Oakland Better Birth Foundation. Letters must be written within the last 7 years. It can't be when you first started. One letter must be from either a licensed provider, a community-based organization, or an enrolled doula. So the letters that you provide, you must have one letter that comes from those parties: a licensed provider, a community-based organization, or another doula who's already gone through this process, who's already an enrolled doula. Hey there, doula. Hey, do we have somebody shall come?
Yeah.
Hi there.
Hello.
The challenge with that, my dear sweetie, I want us to not eat in here.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so if you can be in the other room, I'll try to talk loud, and I'm also actually taping this, so I can also send you the tape so you can hear what you missed.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank
no
you.
problem.
Yeah, it's a good looking plate you got there. That makes me good. That makes me happy. All right, you want to come be close to me again? So this is what's covered by Medi-cal here in California. So as a doula, you can have 1 initial visits, up to 8 additional visits. That can be either a combination of prenatal and postpartum visits. You, of course, can have support during labor and delivery, including labor and delivery that results in a stillbirth, or if this is an abortion, or this is a miscarriage. You can have up to 2 extended 3-hour postpartum visits after the end of pregnancy, and that is billed in 15-minute increments, and that's a very important piece. You can't just bill for one thing, or you'll end up getting, 15 minutes worth of pay, right? So your time with your client is broken up into 15-minute increments, and you bill for how many 15-minute increments you spent with the client postpartum. There are additional visits, which I'll talk about very shortly, but those postpartum visits are not considered additional. The first set of postpartum visits, that's part of the package. So there are extended postpartum visits. Say your client had a really hard birth, or traumatic birth, or a C-section, and she needs more care from you. You have to ask permission of the folks who took care of her, or any licensed practitioner. So if she is seeing a therapist has a state license, or her OB, if her OB will do that, a nurse who's licensed by the state to give care. They have to write a letter saying, we feel that this mom would benefit from more time with a doula. And then send that in when you are submitting your billing, and you can be given more time.
I believe it's 9 additional visits.
9 additional visits.
Up to 1 year postpartum.
Mm-hmm. And there's a big push around that year point, because that year point, we want to track our babies and make sure they're doing well, especially in struggling communities, very often African American communities or communities of color, period, because when you look at the incidence of little ones leaving before their first birthday, it is sadly, not surprisingly, that the darker you are, the more there is risk. Not because people of color are more risky per se by nature. We have to look at different factors like the systemic racism and poverty issues that more strongly strike one group or another. Folks living on the reservation, there are other things, there are other struggles that these people are struggling with and trying to keep their babies happy and healthy. And that's one of the ways we can be super helpful in popping in, seeing how folks are doing, and seeing if they need any other additional resources. Do you want to cover this little part?
Sure. A few things to know about the visits are that your time is limited to 1 prenatal or postpartum visit per day per member, so you can't bill for 3 postpartum visits in 1 day, right? Only 1 doula can bill for a visit provided to the same member on the same day. So if Samsarah and I were to see a client together at the same time, only one of us could bill. Mm-hmm. But let's say one day I went to see that client, another day Samsarah went to see that client, we could bill separately because they're on different days. Another important point is that one thing you can do is you can bill a prenatal or postpartum visit on the same day as birth, stillbirth, or abortion. So I'll give an example. I had a prenatal visit with a client, and then later that day she went into labor. So I can bill for that prenatal visit, and then I can bill for birth, even though they happened in the same day.
Also, this is one of those moments, forgive me for jumping in, this is one of those moments where I think it's important to remember the quality of our care, which may or may not be what the state is going for, right? So say you have a client who's experiencing great distress, and you spend many hours with that client in 1 day. So you have to look at that, or you come back, you go home, pick up your kids from school, then you come back, because that client just really needs your care in that day, right? Know that you can only bill for that first visit. It does not mean that you don't come back to that client. That's my feeling and opinion as a doula for many, many years. But just having an understanding that, yes, it's very nice and important to get paid, especially the way things are right now in the wide world. But it's even more important to secure the safety of a baby and its mother, and to give support to that mother or that parent who is struggling, right? So if you come back and check, that's because you're a really great doula, and it's not about billing for every single hour. You can definitely pay for the first postpartum visit, the first section of that, but if you leave and you come back, it's a separate visit, and that's a separate visit that you gave because you are a good provider and you're meeting the needs of your client. Take it.
And then just like another note about the HIPAA compliant notes. They can be handwritten notes that are kept in a locked filing cabinet without identifying information on the note for the client, or they can be electronic notes, but that has to go within a HIPAA compliant system, which do exist.
Yeah, we need to do another talk about that.
Yes.
A note on HIPAA.
I think we can.
HIPAA compliant no options. I'll just go with
Okay.
quick. So you can have it on paper, minimal, identifying information, kept in a locked storage, uniform and consistent layout with the date, the time, and the summary. So in your notes, you might have the client's first initial, but not their full name. No identifying information. So that if somebody else came upon your notes and read, they're not reading somebody else's business, and the client's personal business is not being just shared or disregarded. Your folder or your notebook or wherever you keep all your client information has to be in a extremely secure area. Here, as like in a locked storage box, is ideal, because only you can get in and have access to the information. And there's several online options which are already HIPAA compliant that are out there: Office Ally, Duolado, Healthy, and more. There's a bunch of them. And it is being discussed at the state level if Zoom is allowable. There is a HIPAA compliant Zoom program, which costs a little bit more, but if that's available to you and you can afford it, feel free to use that. And these notes have to be available to the state at any time. This does not mean your private practice notes. So you'll be having 2 separate groups or 2 separate, in your file cabinet, there's one cabinet that's just for your Medi-cal doulas that locks, and then your other clients too. But it's also good practice to have with your other clients as well. It's good practice in being super secure with other people's vital information.
Yep.
Except to the state, when they want to see it, they get to see it. And they're looking at it to make sure that you're following the rules. We don't want any doulas have any problems or issues or being fined by the state, blah, 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 for something like how we handle our notes. And that's something that has not been really pressing for doulas in the past. We don't tend to take a lot of notes, but some people do. But making sure that they're just like not sitting on your living room table open for anybody who walks by to see it. Just an extra care about it. And that's the same care that's required of doctors and nurses as well. They have to be very careful. That's why pretty much all their stuff is computerized. So only they can get into it. Okay, so we have 5 minutes. So I'm going to go through these things very quickly, and it does look like we'll make another video on another day. Any questions that come up for you when you see this, again, give us messages in the comments. Thank you. And please feel free to check out our website, which is www.NIA, N-I-A, Oakland Better Birth Foundation, all one word, .com. And you can ask questions in there, ask to be put on our newsletter. We'd love to see you. We'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings, and have you join us for doula functions that we will be doing as long as we need to, which might be forever. It's okay. So what is not covered is behavioral health sciences. You want to send them to those lovely people, to therapists, those folks who are licensed by the state to deal with behavioral health issues. You cannot bill for belly binding after cesarean section by clinical personnel, I don't know about that. And clinical case coordination, the case managers are very specific people, and we cannot bill for our time, even if we might do stuff that feels that way, right? We're not those people. But community doulas do a lot of things that feel like other people's job. It's not exactly. We don't have the training for certain other people's jobs, but we have the heart and the training to assist our clients to getting to these people who can then bill for their time. Okay. Healthcare services related to pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum period, meaning licensed people.
Yeah.
Childbirth education group classes. We can't put them all together and bill for each person in our childbirth education class. Comprehensive health education, including orientation, assessment, and planning. Comprehensive perinatal services, program services. We can't bill for any of that. Hypnotherapy. Lots of folks have taken hypnobabies. Doulas have taken hypnobabies, or are themselves licensed or certified hypnotherapists, but you cannot bill for your hypnosis time with your clients. The state doesn't cover hypnotherapy for anybody. Lactation consulting, group classes, and supplies for lactation-specific care. We cannot bill, even though we will discuss all those things, and we might discuss those things in a prenatal visit or postpartum visit. Excuse me, the baby's out now. In our postpartum visits, we can bill for a postpartum visit, but we cannot bill specifically for any lactation support that we did. Oh, I hear Mika breathing. Go ahead.
Lactation, they're defining lactation support and lactation consulting separately. So we can offer lactation support, but we can't be lactation consultants, which are IBCLCs. And this is
or lactation consultant.
They're not saying that here, but that's really what they mean. So what a lactation consultant can do is they can, do a clinical assessment. They can create a plan around lactation. And that is billed separately.
Yes.
But if we're just like supporting a baby latching or saying, hey, I think you should reach out to a lactation consultant, or providing information on what is normal around body feeding, breastfeeding, that's fine. We can do that.
And there's so many lines in the sand. So it is very important to know those lines if we're wanting to get paid for what we're doing. I'm not a ILBOC. I'm not. But I have been teaching breastfeeding and supporting breastfeeding for all those years. I know a lot, and IBCLCs know a lot. A couple more things. We cannot pay for nutrition services, although we teach about nutrition. We are not nutritionists, so we can't pay for that. We might discuss those things in a prenatal visit, and so we're billing for a prenatal visit, not a nutrition visit, right?
Yeah, and I think it goes again into that, we're not creating a plan for someone with gestational diabetes, right, of their grams of protein per day. No, where we cannot bill for that.
We can't bill. Right. We can talk about it. Doulas are teachers. Yeah. So we can teach about those things, and then we can refer someone to a nutritionist. But we cannot say that we are nutritionists, because we're not. We cannot pay for transportation of our clients. There are services that will do that, depending upon the insurance that they cover. There's some insurances that will actually help the client get to a doctor's appointment, and community-based organizations that might do that, but we cannot pay for that. And we need to be careful about that, because then there's insurance things to worry about. God forbid we have an accident with a pregnant client in the car. Yuck. So that's not covered by Medi-cal. And any medically appropriate community support services. So anything other than our doula care, we cannot bill for. I am going to stop here, and I'm going to thank you for being with Mika and myself today. We will do another video, or maybe two, depending upon how long we talk. We really want folks who want to participate in this program to be able to. We really want to help folks who want to be doulas of any type be doulas. Our community needs us very much. Mamas need us very much. Until we see those mortality numbers come down, we needed doulas before there was all this worry about mortality. Doulas have been part of human life since the first human. And I think one of the most important things that we do, and Mika can tell me if she agrees, is that our biggest job is to return joy to the birth process, and to return power to the birthing person and her family and their mates, their other children that they have. For moms, grandmas, and aunties to all see a baby born beautifully is a tremendous blessing, and we want to encourage that and support that as best we can. So have a great day. Love you a lot, and peace and baby blessings.